Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Friday, October 7th. We are here live. It's time for an episode of Trucking Technology and Efficiency. It's also a freaky free-for-all Friday. Anything goes. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, pick up the phone and join us. We're opening those phone lines right now. Anything goes, 855-950-3835. I believe we're going to be joined by both John and Joel today, I think. So we'll see what's on their mind. Then we'll find out what's going on with you. So we'll get to those calls here in just a little bit. Line them up, 855-950-3835. Looks like some calls are already starting to come in. I don't have a lot, so I think we're just going to jump right in and get started. I think this is Joel. Let me check. Joel, is this you?
I am here.
All right. I don't know where John is yet. I think we heard from him. I think he's supposed to be joining us today, so we'll see. We'll jump in and get started without him. What's on your mind this week?
Well, right off the top of my head here, I just seen a really cool purple Corvette that matches my truck.
Oh, boy.
I might have to go take a look at this thing.
Yeah.
It's a 92, and it's kind of a blue light special as far as pricing. The price is right, and it's the exact color purple as my truck, and I'm thinking might have to pull the trigger.
There you go. Then all you're going to need to do is...
absolutely.
Yeah, then all you'll need to do is find a Harley that color, and you'll be all set.
There you go. Oh my. Yeah, it just popped up in my feed this morning. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And it's close. Well, go look at it.
I'm sure Facebook has some crazy algorithm that noticed you keep posting pictures of this purple truck. So now they're going to show you purple everything.
They had to have, because literally it is the identical color purple. I was like, there's no way that's coincidence.
Oh, that's scary.
I have to go look at it. Yeah, I try not to think about how scary that actually is. But, it's like that. I shot a picture of it over to John, and he's like, "Holy crap!" Like, yeah, no kidding. So.
Man.
Oh, shoot. But as far as trucks go, I brought my truck back into the shop for a few tweaks after my run out to Salt Lake City. And, just some minor stuff. We dropped a new gear ratio in it. And
just minor stuff.
Parameters a little bit.
Nothing major.
Stuff, yeah. So we went from 216 to 205.
Wow.
And so we're now 205 overdrive.
Wow.
And took her out for a test run, and it goes into overdrive at 73 mile an hour at 1,000 RPM. And
crazy.
Which is good for out west.
Yeah.
The direct drive portion of it, it runs really nice between 58 and 69 mile an hour. It's spot on where you want the RPM to run. So I think this 205 is going to work really, really well for me. What else do I got going on? My trailer that I have is going in for new brakes. So I think I'm going to run some power only stuff for a week or two while I'm
there you go.
Getting that all taken care of, and just to fart around and get the truck out there and see what she'll do.
Yeah. So I would assume, knowing the transmission and the gear ratios that you have on this one, you have no startability issues with low and reverse, even with 205s.
No, right. With that 14 speed, with that, it's 38 to 1 reduction forward, 42 to 1 in reverse.
Wow.
And yeah,
That's deep.
I could potentially go to 195 with the overdrive. The problem is that even out west, you're breaking the speed limit getting into overdrive. So we're done we are done at 205. It's not going to go any higher than that, because 73 is where it drops into overdrive, and we're just done right there. So
think about it. When you and I started driving, 411s, 413s, not uncommon, and 390 was probably the most common gear ratio out there.
Yeah, I remember when 355 started to become a thing, and guys were just losing their mind at that. You know,
right.
It's the same old BS. It'll never go up a hill. It won't do this. It won't do that. And you know what's really cool about pushing this extreme envelope like we're doing here at 205, what this really allows me to do is get into that underdrive gear at a more comfortable highway speed. So just out cruising at the speeds that I like to drive at 60 mile an hour, I'm at 1,025 RPM in direct. I'm at 850 in overdrive. And I'm at 1,350 in underdrive. So I've got a gear that I can do just about anything I want to do. If I'm super heavy and rolling hills, I can literally cruise it in underdrive on the highway with the torque multiplication. And, you know, it just pulls phenomenally well at that speed. So, you know, we've seen the trend towards the downsped powertrain. One of the problems that a lot of the manufacturers kind of face is the drivability issue. They're not geared fast enough so they can actually run those lower gears at highway speed. And so they have programming that kind of forces you into the higher gear. And sometimes that performance in the hills is a little lackluster. We have completely solved that problem by pushing the gear ratio out and then using those lower gears at faster speeds. The performance in the hills is pretty impressive.
Yeah. Very nice. John is going to be joining us here soon. I just heard from Lisa on that. I want to shift to just trucking overall real quick. Matt just sent me a thing. Fuel's up 20 cents. It's going up 20 cents a gallon again tonight. And for the week now, will be up 70 cents a gallon. You know, when I watch the news, they're kind of sort of talking about gas prices. They're, you know, California, they never really came down. Theirs has been crazy. OPEC just decided to stop producing as much. Nobody's really talking about diesel prices, and 70 cents in a week is insane.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, with OPEC going to cut production, things are going to continue to climb. There's no doubt. So you know, the guys that really have paid attention to efficiency here, they're going to do well with the fuel surcharge and whatnot. The guys that are not paying attention to efficiency, they're really going to take it on the chin, no doubt.
You know, I checked rates. They're still at really 2018 levels. 2018 was a good year. That was not a bad year in trucking at all. And we're at those levels. But there are some other things that are, if fleets right now, they have to be worried. Did you see we set a record for truck orders in September?
I saw that.
So fleets must have got stuck in the screwy cycle, couldn't, you know, upgrade their equipment because maybe they couldn't get it. You know, their orders weren't coming in. Now they're replacing trucks because they're getting too old. They had to pay drivers more. This has got to be tough for them, wondering what's going to happen. If freight rates come down to, you know, where they've been historically, there are going to be a lot of fleets really struggling. If freight rates don't come back to those numbers, then the rest of us are going to pay for it through inflation.
I 100% agree. And, you know, there is a reason why my younger brother is grayer than I am.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's managing the fleet. And we just had this discussion. And so, yeah, it's definitely, everybody's kind of watching to see what'll happen, but he has ordered trucks as well. You know, it's it's something that the fleets have to do to stay competitive, especially we're going to have the new round of emissions, 2024 coming. And, everybody's kind of gun shy of that. They're thinking, well, we better buy before they come out because who knows what kind of mess that's going to create.
Well, and price.
I personally think we're going to do just fine, right? Prices.
Yeah.
Yes.
It seems like every time we do another round of emissions, it just adds $10,000 to the truck.
Another 10, 15,000.
Right. Yeah.
You're exactly right. It's across the board. All the OEMs are gonna face it. In our discussion that we had, he just doesn't see prices coming back down, freight rates coming down to historical norms. He said if they do, everybody's going to be out of business.
That's kind of what I'm thinking as I watch this, and I think, well, wait a minute. I don't think they can come down this time. And here's what I've said. I've said this forever, that no matter what happens to freight rates, they will always stay high enough so that somebody can move the freight at a profit. It may get to the point where it's difficult to make a profit, but somebody has to be able to make a profit, or we're not moving the freight. And I don't think they're coming down this time. And what that means, we have to look at the economy then, because, trucking touches everything when it comes to the economy. And if these rates stay this high, then inflation isn't coming back down either.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. We're kind of in I don't know if you'd call it a new normal, but freight rates, I don't think that they're going to come much lower than what we're seeing now. I have never really played in the power only market in the past. And so, I'm going to have my trailer in for service. I said, I ain't going to set and wait on it. Let's do some power only, go out there and play. And rates weren't too bad.
I know.
was looking at that going, you know what? A lot of guys are complaining about rates, and here we are power only. And, some of it was ridiculous, but if you look just a little bit, you could find some fairly decent stuff. And so it's going to be interesting to play in this for a couple of weeks just to see what happens. But I'll report back to you what we find. But it definitely was a little surprising for me that some of the rates were as good as what they were. I mean, some of this power only stuff was plus $3 a mile.
I know.
So it's not too awful bad. Yeah.
Well, historically what you've been able to make with one truck, one good driver, what those numbers are. I'm going to give you some numbers that Matt called in with yesterday. And if I didn't know him, if I didn't know what was going on, this would have been one of those hilarious phone calls. I would have been screaming, bullshit, you're lying. I mean, the numbers are hard to fathom. Now, here's the thing, and I talked about this. Matt has been doing everything you can do to improve your business for years now. Everything. He works on the revenue side. He works on the customer side. He works on the expense side. His fuel mileage is excellent. His maintenance costs are incredibly low. I mean, I even said, I doubt that there's anything more you could do to improve this. I just don't know that there would be anything left to do. He's got good customers. He's still getting great rates. But we went over his numbers yesterday through the end of September. So he's got another quarter left. His profit, after all expenses, everything taken out, he was north of $250,000.
Nice.
That's insane.
Nice.
That's just, and he's got a quarter left, and this is the year where the rates started going down, right?
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. That's great to hear, though, and that's kind of what I'm just seeing initially. If a guy's motivated and he wants to make some money, it's there to be made. And you hear these guys crying about rates just nonstop, and I'm kind of scratching my head a little bit here.
Yeah,
but, you can still do very well with what's out there. There's no question about it. So I'm definitely looking forward to jumping in here and getting this truck moving, and not just for the fuel efficiency part of it, but we'll see what we can do with rates. And
Yeah.
I'm going to run a little bit of everything, really. We're going to do some power only. I may do some tanker work, a little bit of reefer work, being it's a demonstration truck as well. I want to get out there and hit a little bit of everything. Won't be doing any heavy haul with it because I know I'll get that question. The truck is not spec to do anything heavy haul. With the ratio that's in it right now, we are limited to 80,000 pounds.
There you go.
If it's 80,000 and under, and hey, listen, I always get these guys that say, "Hey, come and hook up to my trailer and do that." I just may do that.
There
if somebody hits me up and says, hey, hook up my trailer, I may be able to arrange that. So if you got guys that, want a real live demonstration, we'll see what we can do on that end too.
There, I love that. And here's the other thing that will be really cool since you document all this, and we'll be able to see, and it will be limited, but we'll be able to see some differences with different trailers and different equipment.
Yeah, exactly. We won't be optimal, obviously, pulling a tanker with a high roof sleeper, but you know what? We're going to give her a shot anyway, and see what happens, and see what we can do to overcome a less than optimal spec just through driver skill and paying attention to what's going on. But this is, to me, is going to be fun. It's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. I definitely want to get out around your area as soon as I can get out there. Or if you're on the road, maybe we could meet up somewhere, because I got to put your ass in the seat.
There we
go.
Got
to drive this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with the 205 in it, I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah, that's.
And I want to see about getting up over to Bruce's here now that I've got my own truck where I don't have to worry about meeting a revenue schedule with Ploger as tight as what we were.
Right.
I've got a little bit more freedom to do some things as a demonstration truck. So we are going to be running some real freight with it, but I'm also going to be doing some demonstrations. So looking forward to all this.
That's excellent. Yeah, that is. I don't see John yet, but the calls are starting to pile up. Do you have anything else you want to go over, or should we start taking some calls?
Let's take some calls.
All right. Let's get started in Delaware. Jay, welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing, Kevin? Appreciate everything you do for us. I've been listening for quite a few years. I had a question for you. The book, I believe you recommended it again last week, Who Moved the Cheese?
Yeah.
Or Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
I think I've heard you mention it a few times before, and I forgot about it, didn't download it. I downloaded it and listened to it last week, and I was wondering if you have ever listened to his second book, Peaks and Valleys.
No, I haven't. Didn't even know it
existed. He has another... when I was on Audible downloading that, I saw he had another one called Peaks and Valleys. So I also listened to that, and that was interesting as well. Okay. It took him years to write that one as well as Move My Cheese.
Okay, good. I'll grab that one.
Okay, that's all I had. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for everything.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Always like book recommendations.
Okay.
Although I just, oh, shoot. Hey, Lisa, I just hit the wrong call and I dropped Joel. So if he's calling back, I think he's already dialing. All right, we'll get him back. That was operator error there. We'll all right, there he is. I think we'll have him back here in just a second. So I will go ahead and bring in the next call in Ohio. Herschel, welcome to the program.
Well, what do you say, guys? How you doing today?
Good. We've got Joel back. Hey, Joel, sorry about that. I kicked you out.
I figured you hit the wrong button or something.
I know. It's Friday. I'm tired. I hit the wrong button, so we've got you back. Herschel, what's on your mind?
Well, I went and did a thing about a week and a half ago. I went and drove a Volvo. I probably shouldn't have did it because I spent money after I did it.
Uh-oh. Did you buy one?
Uh-oh.
I did.
That's exciting.
I did. I bought.
All right.
Well, the guy I bought it off of, he's a fleet. He's got 50 trucks, all Volvo. He has 3 Freightliners, and he says, I just buy them to keep Volvo honest, just to mess with them. So he has 2 guys. Yeah, he really did tell me that. He has 2 guys in his shop that are Volvo certified, trained, the whole 9 yards. He has all the Volvo software. He will work on my truck, give me diagnostics at no charge because I'm buying his truck. And I couldn't pass it up. I just couldn't pass it up. So I don't have to deal with Volvo and their wonky service. You know how that goes, Kevin.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, this is exciting.
Oh, my God. I have never driven a truck like this one. I've driven them all. I started in a 1981 cab-over Freightliner. Remember the ones where the cab was cocked sideways and it looked like maybe the mounts were broken? That's what I started in.
Yep, remember that well.
So anyway,
been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one is a
190-inch wheelbase with spring ride.
I don't know this one was that long. I think the steering and drive tires rubbed each other if you turn too short. Oh, what a piece of junk.
Yeah. We've come a long way.
This one is a, oh my God. It's a 2018 VNL 64T 670. It does have the D13, 455, 12-speed I-shift, 264 ratio. And it's the one that Joel used to brag about until he got his new one, the XE package.
Yeah.
So,
correct. Yeah, that is XE. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, they told me when I got it for oil change, they use T5 semi-synthetic Rotella at 30,000 mile interval. Is that correct? That's the first one.
Well, you can change it. The oil's just fine. My brother runs a semi-synthetic also. Now, we used to change exclusively based on oil sampling, and then over the years, what we've learned is the majority of our samples, we need to change at a specific time. So we're at 66,000 miles in my brother's operation, works just fine. For my truck individually, I'm going to go strictly by oil sampling because I know I can get out much, much further than 66,000 miles. I am sure that you could double that oil change interval with no problem at all, but I would start oil sampling and see how far it takes you.
Yeah, I agree. 30,000 is so conservative. You could easily double that without any kind of bypass filtration. And if you're going to use
that engine,
go ahead.
Mm-hmm. That engine does have a bypass filter on it from the factory.
Right.
It's not any type of extreme micron rating, but I think it gets you down in that 2 to 3 micron range on the factory bypass. Here's what I can tell you. We have been running Volvo Power since 2006, I think, or 7. Well over 100 trucks we've owned in that time. We have done extended oil changes since day one, and we have never had to do an overhaul. We have never had to do the bottom end. We just never had a lubrication issue, period, end of story. So 30,000 is extremely conservative on that.
Yeah.
You can change it at that. It's not going to hurt anything, but you can definitely get out there further. I would start oil sampling ASAP on it and do what your oil samples tell you to do.
All right. I think the first time I'm just going to do is 30 and then sample it at that time and see what it does.
That makes sense.
Because I don't have the OPS on this thing, so I'll just do it out of the pan and see what it does.
Yeah, no, that'll give you a baseline.
This one with the 264. Now, maybe you don't know. I live in Ohio. I go from Columbus and down into West Virginia and back to Columbus. So it's 60 miles an hour is what I always drove in my other truck. This one here, the guys tell me the 65 is its sweet spot. Take that for what it is. We all know the faster you go, the worse it gets. If I stay at 60 miles an hour, that puts me in 11th, which I'm pretty sure is direct, and that puts me at 13, right about 13, 1275. If I let it go to 61 or 62, that'll put me into 12th gear and then drops me down to about 1050. But to me, it just feels like it's lugging a little bit if you don't keep it up to at least 62 or 3. Am I crazy, too old school thinking? What's your opinion efficiency-wise at those speeds and gears?
Yeah, you have a VGT engine, which is not as strong on the low side as the TC. They're both D13s, but you have a variable geometry turbocharger on there, and you're not quite as strong down low. So what you're feeling at 60 and overdrive is spot on. At 1050, it will run, but it may not feel right to you, being an old school driver. So running that 62 or 63 to bring your RPM up just a pinch, it's not going to hurt a damn thing. Here is the deal with the Volvo setup of the overdrive and why you see Volvo pushing overdrive more than direct drive. You know, we've always been taught it's more efficient to run in direct drive. And when we say that, what we really mean is the power transfer through the transmission is more efficient. And when we were running the Fuller, the old manuals, and I get guys that scream at me every time I say this, but it is absolutely true, that dual counter shaft transmission with the two auxiliary shafts in the back does not transfer power as efficient as the single counter shaft I-shift. So it was true if you have a dual counter shaft transmission that you want to try to keep it in direct. With the single counter shaft transmission, you're only losing about 1% in efficiency, but the RPM drop in the engine is around 3%. So you actually running in overdrive, you do come out ahead, but you are running a little bit faster speed. So what I think you're going to find, it's going to be a wash, really. You can run in either one, whichever one makes you more comfortable, run it. Don't, with the I-shift and the Volvo Power, don't get hung up on, I have to be in direct, because it does not work that way. There are some efficiencies in that transmission that you don't see in the old school trucks, and you can run in either gear and you're going to be just fine.
Hey, Joe, you know what's funny about this whole issue? So you and I have probably spent the last 25 or 30 years trying to convince people that running in direct is really efficient, and we never got the idea across, and now it's disappearing. It's like we never got anybody to understand that, and now it's gone. It's not an issue anymore.
Right. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I was thinking about that the other day. Yeah. We banging our heads on the wall saying, run this thing in direct, run it in direct. And now you really don't have to anymore.
Right. Now we're just saying, oh, just forget it. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Now, if the truck is geared to hit the exact sweet spot, by all means, use direct when you can. But in this instance right here, should I run 58 in direct or 62 in overdrive? You know what? It's not gonna make much difference. You obviously, because you're going faster, you're going to use more fuel based on the speed, the energy to overcome all the parasitic drag. But as far as the grams per hour and efficiency in the engine, yada yada yada, the slower the piston speed, the more efficient it's going to be. You get into a whole bunch of technical bullshit here that we don't want to put everybody to sleep on, but you're fine in either gear. It's the best way to put it with that setup. Run it wherever you feel most comfortable. You're going to be just fine. As your speed starts to increase, if you're running 70, obviously it's going to kick into overdrive, and it should at that speed to keep your piston speed low. But between that 58 and 63, you can use either gear.
Okay. What would you expect as a guesstimation? I do railroad containers, 20 footers, empty half the time when I am loaded going down. I have the loads in the 38 to 40,000 pound range. What do you want to guess I might expect for MPG average? You got any guess? Because I filled it up last week and I haven't had to fill it up yet, so I don't know yet.
Yeah, that's pretty ugly aerodynamically, but I'm gonna guess right off the top of my head that 8's gonna come pretty easy for you. I don't know.
Nice.
I don't know where you were previously, but I think you should get there. If you don't get crazy with the speed, now you are aerodynamically ugly. So
yes, you are.
Speed is going to have a huge impact on that. So if you're running closer to the 62, you may be in the mid 7s. If you're running closer to the 58, you're maybe just a step over 8. So knowing that you're running 20-foot containers, really pay attention to that speed, and that's going to push that fuel economy number all over the place. So,
I think I'm going to do better.
I was just going to say that a stretch goal on a truck like this would be trying to get to 8.5. 8.5, I think, would be a stretch. I think 8 certainly doable. That last, get into the mid 8s, I think is possible, but you're going to have to work at it a bit.
Yeah, the one that I had previous was a Columbia mid-roof with a 244-inch wheelbase, so it was long for a Columbia. And I got 6.8, 7 out of it sometimes, but generally I was in the 6.6 or 6.8 range all the time. And that was 60 miles an hour with a 279 driving in direct, so this one at 264, should be better. That'll make part of my payment.
There you go.
Yeah, I have had a whole slew of guys here lately that have come out of Freightliner gliders. I don't know if they're Columbias or what's their longer nose that's kind of aerodynamic.
Coronados.
They came out of Coronados, and they were built with 60 series Detroit's, 13 speeds, and they had the 264s geared to run in direct. And what we're finding when we go to the new Volvos, we're just about a mile a gallon better than what those trucks were running, the guys that have spec'd them. And the one guy that ran a Conestoga, he's up 2 miles a gallon over the 60 series with the 13 speed and the 264 to run in direct. So, they're kind of loving life. I think you're definitely going to be better than what the Freightliner was. Definitely let us know how you do. If you're not significantly better, there may be some parameter things we can do to bump your truck around a little bit and help to optimize it for what you're doing. But I would guess out of the box, you're probably going to be in that 8 mile a gallon range.
Okay, Joel, I see you talk about two last things. I see you talk about cetane booster from Hot Shot Secret, that everyday cetane booster. And then you talk about the Air Dog. Can you tell me, would both or either one of those benefit this truck and how?
Yes, both of them will. So when you look at the cetane requirement for Volvo, and they used to publish this, and I have not been able to find an updated notice on this. Volvo recommended 47 cetane minimum. And when you go to the pump, it tells you it's 40. You know what I mean? So cetane is going to help that truck develop torque down low. Where you're thinking it feels a little bit weak right now, you may dump some cetane booster in there, and you may say, wow, I can really feel the difference. I would suspect that you will. The Air Dog, what the Air Dog does, and I'll try to keep this short, your fuel pump is a mechanical fuel pump that's on the truck right now. And all mechanical fuel pumps have a range, a speed range where they're most efficient in terms of RPM. So what we have found through some dyno testing is when you're running at the lower RPM is where the Air Dog has the biggest impact. Essentially, that electric feeder pump is, kind of supercharging your mechanical pump when you're at lower RPM, where it may not be quite as efficient, especially if it gets a few miles on it. So I have put air dogs on 4 or 5 test vehicles. Jamie Hagan, he runs them on his entire fleet, and he runs Max, which, same thing basically. It's a very noticeable difference at low RPM. So if you're looking to really leverage the benefits of that XE package and get it into overdrive and keep the RPM low, both that cetane and the air dog are gonna help you. There's no doubt about it. You're gonna have some guys that are skeptical when you want to put the air dog on. I was one of those guys. I said, "There's no way in hell this is going to do anything." And I put it on, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I mean, it was very noticeable to me. And it took me about 1.5 years to really research it and understand exactly what was going on and why the improvement is there. Since then, I have talked to multiple engineers off the record. They won't officially comment on the record, but off the record, they kind of all shake their head. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, none of the OEMs will put a system like this on simply because it has not been emissions tested. It is very, very expensive for the OEM to do a EPA emissions certification. And so that's not something that, hey, bring that part in and we'll get that certified quick. It doesn't happen that way. It takes a long time. They've got a budget well in advance for it. And in the case of Volvo, they got multiple other projects going on. They just cannot, drop that into the system and say, hey, test this. It doesn't work that way. We have done, our Air Dog has done some independent testing at Ohio State, the Center for Automotive Excellence, and it does help with NOx. The particulate itself stayed relatively the same, I believe, but they're testing on their dyno, and they do a different type of dyno. It actually simulates a route that the truck travels, and I don't know. They got AirDog has it available on their website if you want to look at the report. It's a pretty lengthy report, but they definitely saw the fuel efficiency bump and the reduction in NOx. And so there's not a problem with, hey, you put that on, it's going to screw up your emission system or anything like that.
So the product that you use for the cetane boost, I'm pretty sure it's Hot Shot Secret. Can you tell me which product it is so I can know I get the correct one, and do I just follow the bottle for dosage?
So, yes, you do. I use Everyday Treatment every day, and there is a performance dose that they recommend, and I don't remember what it is right off the top of my head, but follow the bottle on the EDT, and then every 10, 15,000 miles right in that area, I will dump a bottle of the Diesel Extreme in it, which just really kind of kicks the detergents and stuff up, because we want to make sure those injector nozzles stay very clean, or the tips, and that does a very good job at keeping things clean underneath. The guys out at Mesilla Valley, that testing arm, they had a product in there. It was not Hot Shot Secret, but a very similar product. And they put it under an electron microscope, them injector nozzles, and it is amazing the difference when you run that stuff, how it keeps the tips opened and keeps things clean. So I just see it as a maintenance thing. Number one, we get to the cetane level that Volvo recommends, and cetane works exactly the opposite of octane. Octane slows the burn down. Cetane speeds the burn up. I prefer cetane to other ways of doing it simply because we leave no residue in the oil. It's just a clean burn, and that's why I prefer cetane. But there's other products out there that work. I have used Primrose in the past, and it worked well. I have used the stuff in the gray bottle that said all the Power Service. It's worked well.
Power Service.
Yes. So cetane isn't a thing that only one company can do. My suggestion to you is look at the dosage and, figure out your cost on it and go with what's cheapest. because cetane works universally. If it's got cetane in it, it's going to work. You just need to know the levels and what it's going to cost you per dose that they're recommending, and try it out. My personal preference is for Hot Shot Secret. The biggest reason being is they have excellent customer service. And when I was working with my brother's fleet, that was very important for us. He buys diesel fuel treatment in 275-gallon totes. And, we treat everything. He treats his big yard tank out there with it. And we just need to make sure if we do have a problem, they'll send a guy up, a chemist that will, check out everything and tell us exactly what's going on. We really haven't had issues with it. One time we got a big old load of biodiesel that we weren't supposed to in the middle of January, and it caused us some fits, but they were able to correct that in short order. So, look at what's cheap and what has the cetane level that you're looking for. It'll tell you how many points it'll boost cetane level, and I would definitely try it. I think you'll notice a difference.
So that all being said, I've heard you talk, not necessarily negatively, but I don't even know if critical would be the right word. You are not a fan of the max mileage catalyst in these engines.
Here's what I will tell you. I ran it for a short period. I personally saw no bump from it. But we've got treated fuel that we were already running. So a lot of people see a benefit from it. I did not see that. So I don't want to say that I'm super critical of it either. Try it yourself and see if it works for you. If it does, absolutely. If something works, run it. That's what I'm going to tell you.
Results are what matter.
It did not work for me in my operation. You're exactly right. And if you put that in and it works for you, awesome. Run it.
Well, I can tell you. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just keep an eye on what you do, and figure your cost out on it. That's the big thing. It's the cost. Look at the cost on everything. And I would try several different products. Don't take my word for nothing. I'll tell you what works for me. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. Do not be afraid to try different things, as long as you're tracking your mileage close and you understand how to analyze your data. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Joel, I'm glad you said that last sentence, and let's throw that in. Try things that at least have a chance of working. Based on everything we know about fuel economy, we know all the things you have to affect to be able to improve fuel economy. So if there's a reasonable chance that might happen, absolutely try it. Then there's the stupid stuff that you should never try. Printed circuit boards that you stick on the outside of your fuel tank. All those magnets. All the goofy stuff that we can't really look at and say, oh, yeah, here's why that should work. But in this case, Joel, talking about the cetane. Well, we know why that should work. There's a reasonable explanation as to why that works. Does it mean it works in every truck every time? Absolutely not. Nothing does. That's why our number has kind of been, if we're going to do a formal test of something, 70% is kind of my number. If I get a result out of 70% of the trucks we try, then something good is happening there. That's not a fluke. But 50%, sometimes it is a fluke. It's just that hard to test sometimes.
Well, I know that my Freightliner, it had the 14-liter Series 60 that was repaired. But when you started that truck before, it was kind of lackadaisical, if that makes sense. It cracked and fire. I've been a believer in the catalyst and have been using it for, a couple years probably, isn't it?
So
that thing, boom, right now. It's right now. I swear it was smoother and quieter, and I don't really think that it was placebo. I really don't. I really believe it was there. So take it for
So,
what it is.
A couple of things on this real quick, Kevin, if you got a second. So, when we talked about the architecture of the engines, and the one thing that happened with the 60 series, I think, when they got out to that bigger displacement, is the stroke, I believe, changed.
Right.
And so when that stroke gets really long, you start to get that variation in piston speed throughout the stroke. So this really makes sense to me when we start to talk about the catalyst and the way Bruce describes that it speeds up the burn on this. If you've got that very fast piston speed away from top dead center, I would think that something like Catalyst would be just custom made for those engines that have the longer stroke with the shorting connecting rods and that very fast acceleration away from top dead center. To me, that really starts to make sense on why guys say exactly what you're saying. Man, this Catalyst is great, and why I didn't see much. I'm running very low piston speed, short stroke, long connecting rod, very consistent. I just didn't need that accelerated burn because I had a different piston speed going on there. So that does make sense to me when guys say that, and this is a great reason. Even though, I didn't see results with it, it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Hey, Herschel, one of the things I would do with this truck, you've had a good experience with the Catalyst, and that's awesome. That can also kind of cloud your thinking and judgment around it. I would do a pretty formal kind of test almost. In fact, I might tie it to your first oil change and oil sample. I would run this truck for whatever. If you're going to go to 40,000 to do a sample and check it, I would also not run the Catalyst for at least that long. So you start to get a good feel of how this truck runs under different conditions. You can get some fuel mileage numbers in, then make the change. I wouldn't do it while the truck is still really new to you because you may not really notice what's happening.
Okay, so Joel, and I swear I'll leave you alone after this last question because this is driving me nuts. On the Volvo, they are the only Class 8 tractor I have ever seen on the rear shock mounts. The bottom mounts where it mounts, like all trucks. But the top, the way the bracket's made, has a top hole and a bottom hole. These ones are in the top hole. Why two holes, and is there supposed to be an advantage one way or the other? I've never heard that anywhere.
You're in the correct position for your application. That particular bracket, I think, is used on multiple suspensions. And when you get into some of these vocational suspensions that have longer travel, I think that's why it goes in the bottom hole. So
I was just wondering why do they do that?
You are set up commonality on part. It's just cheaper to make one part that fits all the different suspensions. So it makes sense.
It's like a wastegated turbo.
Cool, guys. I'll leave.
Yeah, there you go.
I got one of them, I think, kind of.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. I'll let somebody else in. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Congratulations on that. That's exciting. Joel, you'll get this. I mean, come on. This was a Columbia glider. He struggled with this engine on this one. I think this is one of those engines that should have never been rebuilt. But it's a Columbia. Going from that to a new Volvo, what a change. I mean, in everyday comfort, forget everything else. Everyday comfort is just night and day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's going to have good luck with this. If, he gets into any problems, I'll do what I can to help him out. But as long as he has the parameters even halfway close, he should be an 8-mile-a-gallon truck in that application at those speeds. So
there you go.
Keep our fingers crossed for him.
There you go. Good stuff. All right, we're going to grab some more calls. Let's go to Stephen in Georgia. Welcome.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for taking my call and appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Hey,
Stephen. Oil sample.
Stephen.
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I brag on you a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Hey, okay. Joel, this is one of my favorite stories. Steven's been around with us for a long time. The first time he called me, he was in a lease purchase. He heard me talking about lease purchases and what a bad idea it was and why. And, so he called me. And I said, well, are you making any money? And he said, well, I don't know. So I said, well, that's the first thing we have to figure out. So we got his numbers together. You may or may not be shocked by this number. You are and you're not because but he was taking home 13 cents a mile.
You know what? I have seen guys in similar situations.
Working his ass off.
It is shocking to hear. Yes, you're working your ass off and you're not making shit. So no, I get it. Yep.
So we started working with him, but he did all the work. Steven, describe your operation now.
Well, right now I do have my own authority, and again, I do work a lot less than what I did way back then, and just right now, my profit is sitting at $1.20 a mile right now.
Wow,
nice.
That is
nice.
That is like an 8-time increase in profit. 8 or 9 times. That's insane.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. You're 10 times better than what you were. So, no, that is awesome. And congratulations on that, because I know the work that you put in. I mean, even when you were still in the lease purchase, it does. I mean, it just consumes you, and you're working all the time. And I've watched guys struggle with that. I've watched guys get divorced over it. I've watched families dissolve. I've watched guys' health deteriorate. So, in a sense, understanding your numbers is healthy for you.
Yeah.
Not just financially. It's healthy for the family, and it's healthy for yourself, period. So congratulations.
Well, that's the only thing that got me through that lease program is knowing my numbers. And by me knowing my numbers, I can kind of, it helped me control my costs and what I need to do and strategize a plan to get out of that lease. And once I got out of the lease, I was able to go over to Landstar and work with them 2 years. And after working with Landstar for 2 years, that's when I got my own authority and been up under my own authority now a little over 6 years now.
Awesome.
I just love that story.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So do I. That's great to hear.
Yeah. What I did, Kevin, I sent you over an oil sample, and I sent it sample at lacetruck.com. I don't know if you got it or not.
Yep. I've got it here in front of me.
Yeah. It's, to kind of get, it's a DD15 2009 DD15 that got 1.2 million miles on the engine. And I'm noticing my fuel dilution went up and my soot is
so couple things. How many miles are on the injectors in this truck?
Oh, let's see. I had them redone back in 2016. So, oh boy,
might be time.
Maybe about, yeah.
Might be time. When was the last time the overhead was set?
Last year.
I'd get it in and get the overhead set before we do anything else. Let's get the overhead set and run one more, sample about 20,000 miles like you did on this one, and let's see what happens. The fuel dilution being at 3.6, if I didn't see your history, that wouldn't bother me at all. But your history is really low. We don't even think about doing something about fuel dilution until it goes over 4. So if that's all we were dealing with, but your soot went up at the same time, this engine is really sensitive to that overhead set. When it gets out, we start to see these kind of weird numbers. Let's try that first. It's due anyway. And, you're at 1.2 million miles. Not a bad idea just to be looking in there anyway. What I probably know the answer here. What's your oil consumption like? Probably not much, right?
Maybe like a gallon every 12,000 miles or something like that.
So we do have some. Yeah, I think it's time. Let's take a look at the top end, get that all set right, see what happens. If that doesn't improve things, then we're probably looking at injectors.
Okay, I got you. They must have recalibrated the oil sample machine, because I'm noticing on my iron, on my last sample, it was flagged at a level 1, but this time it wasn't flagged at all.
How they flag things is pretty screwy. The mileage has an impact, and the mileage on the oil has an impact. So they didn't change anything about their algorithm, but you're right. It actually went up a little bit. It was flagged before, but now it's not flagged. But that's because of the circumstances. That's all the miles that are on it. It kind of just bumped you out of that, level 1 back to a 0. No big deal either way. Are you noticing any changes in emissions? Is this truck regenning more often, or are you noticing any difference around that?
Yeah, I've been noticing that it's been regenning a little bit more than what it should regen.
I almost wonder if it's time to do a DPF cleaning.
That could be a possibility also, yeah.
Yeah, that could cause the same, not so much the fuel dilution, but the soot. And I'm not as concerned about the fuel dilution anyway. So we might...
They should be able to pull him a pressure differential reading off that DPF.
That's what I would check.
I don't know where... Yeah, I don't know where Freightliner's, their trigger value is to say, hey, this needs to come off. But I would definitely see if you can get that reading on a Volvo. I know what the factory likes. We like to do it a little earlier. We like to see, I think, 0.75 on the restriction versus 1.
Yeah.
And we'll pull ours off where we start to see some of the things that you're seeing. So, yeah, definitely check that.
Yep.
Yeah, but the problem with that is I know that I was going to soon need another filter on that thing. The problem I'm running into trying to find one to go on there.
Do you go to Pittsburgh Power?
No, I don't go to Pittsburgh Power, but it's not a problem to make a trip up there.
They have the DPF cleaning station there, and they do the most thorough job I have ever seen. That thing gets inspected 10 different ways. Everything on the DPF gets tested. If it can be cleaned, it gets cleaned. I'd run it by them. They'll tell you exactly whether or not it needs it, whether it's going to make any difference or not, and then whatever it needs, they'll be able to do.
Okay. All right. I will do that. And
while you're there, it's a good place to get the overhead done. It's going to get done right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I will schedule it there to have them to go into it and get it done. I was looking at the base number back in November. Whenever the base was low, I put a ball of a Hot Shot Secret TBN in it, and my base, and just that one ball made a big difference in my base.
Yeah,
in that
perfect.
area.
Yep. Yeah, and that you're all set. So let's just see if we can figure out why these numbers are starting to climb a bit.
Okay. Hey, I really do appreciate you taking my call, and good talking with you again, Kevin.
Yep, good to hear from you. Let's head off to Texas this time. Rusty, welcome to the program.
Hey guys, how are y'all today?
Good.
Sounds like you're doing good.
Yeah, what can we help you with?
I'm starting to think about a new truck, and I had some questions about the Mack versus the Volvo package. When you buy one or the other, are you buying the same thing with a different name on it, or is there specific things? Like, does the Mack have the TC in their line, or?
Yes, the Mack has a TC engine. The engine mechanically, they're essentially identical. They offer the same options on the transmissions and the axles. Where you start to see a little bit of difference is Volvo has a little bit more technology inside the cab, and they offer a few more parameters that you can set. And when it comes to the new IC, I think Volvo has a map-based version of IC, so the truck already knows what's up ahead of it, where with the Mack, you actually have to run the route, and it has to learn the route first. So that's the big differences. Essentially, though, you're getting a very, very similar truck.
So in the Volvo, you say you need to order it as an iTorque. Is that right?
Volvo's iTorque. That gets you the aggressively down sped axle ratios. I am not sure what Mack is calling their version of that today. I'm assuming you could probably go into a Mack dealer and say you want Volvo's version of the iTorque, and they can probably figure it out for you. Yeah, that's the iTorque that gets you the TC. It gets you the transmission with the deeper reduction. And if you're really serious about the fuel efficiency, then you want to add, like an adaptive loading, the 6x2 package, and that'll get you some even more efficiency.
With that, so my operation is about 95% highway and 5% off-road field loading, but that's that's a pretty important 5%. Sometimes getting things started, a big load in sandy conditions and whatnot. Would that 6x2 work in that application?
If you're getting into soft ground, I would not recommend a 6x2. If you were telling me you were getting off road, but it was hard packed, I would be comfortable with it. But if you're getting into any type of sand or anything, you need to stick with a 6x4, definitely.
Okay, but I can still get the rest of the package. Same transmission stuff and ratios.
Yep. Now there is an option for the guys right now. The 14 speed. A lot of the owner operators want that 14 speed with iTorque, and it has not been officially released with a 14 speed yet. The 13 speed iTorque is obviously available. That's what my brother runs in his fleets, and the startability is really good. If you're getting off-road and you're getting into the softer terrain and you think you may need more reduction, there is a shift package available called Comprehensive, and you will have the same rear axle ratio. Everything will be the same except for the shift logic. The 14 speed, my understanding, is approved with the comprehensive shift logic. That's basically what I started with a couple years ago. So they have some experience with it. And so everything's been approved. So if you really want that deep reduction for that 5% that you're off-road, it may be something that we may need to talk about. If you got something to write with, I'll give you my email, and you can shoot me an email, and maybe we can chat about this a little bit more.
Okay. Yep. I can do that. I'll pull over. I'll ask you a few other things. So,
sure.
What I've got, my operation is, you were talking to the guy earlier that pulled the containers. Like my operation's doubly worse than that. I think I pull a 53-foot rib sided, with a tarp on it, the walking floor, and always, I'm probably 70 to 80% loaded, 84,000 all the time. So like with my N14, if I hit 5, if I average 5 for the year, I'm pretty happy with that. It's starting to get to where it sounds like with a new setup like you're talking about, I could get 2 miles to the gallon better fuel mileage. Would you think that would be a stretch?
I don't think so. I don't think that would be out of the realm of possibilities. I will tell you with your weight and the equipment that you're pulling, we probably actually do want to go to the comprehensive shift package. You may not want to get the 2.16. You may want to back it up to 2.26 with the 14 speed. I think would be a very good fit for you. I've got guys that are running similar operations that are running that type of setup. They're just knocking it out of the ballpark. One guy that's pulling a Conestoga, he went from, similar numbers to what you're seeing to almost 9. Obviously I can't guarantee that's going to happen in your instance, but I think there's room for some pretty big improvement. And we need to talk a little bit about this, because this is one of those deals where I think if we step back just a little bit on the down speeding part and get you into like a 2.26 with a 14 speed, I think you'll do real well.
Okay. All right. I'll stop where I can write down your email right quick.
Hey, Rusty, check your text.
Yeah.
You may have just gotten a text from Lisa with that email address.
Oh, yeah. She did send it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll put that down and
there you go.
Get in touch with you. If you got another minute here.
Sure.
So I've been with the same company that's doing the same thing for 20 years. And I've had new trucks. And back when trucks cost $100,000 to $110,000, it wasn't hard to trade into a new truck, after 4 to 5 years. It always worked well. At this point, I'm about to have to rebuild a lot of things on this 2001. And it's almost starting to make sense to buy a new truck.
Mm-hmm.
The fuel mileage is, if I knew fuel was going to stay 4.5 plus per gallon, there's some additional profits to buying a new truck. And I don't guess I'm asking a question. I guess I'm just trying to bounce stuff off of somebody that's pretty good at talking about these things. If that, I don't know. I guess I'm just debating that. It's either stick $30,000 to $40,000 in this when it comes to rear ends. I'm going to need an overhaul pretty soon. I've got a housing crack on a rear end, so I'm going to have a new housing. So it's either buy a new one or really.
I'll give you my opinion. Yeah, I'll give you my opinion on this one. And for the most part, I am a big proponent of when you've got a decent truck or a good truck, keep it. The longer you keep it, the more money you make. Up to a certain point. You're probably getting to that point. Trying to replace a truck every 4 or 5 years, I've known people who do that just because they don't think they want the troubles of having it longer. You can never make a financial argument for it. I've tried. It doesn't work. But if you can keep a truck 8 years, now it starts to make sense at some point, and you're well beyond that. There will be so many advantages to you upgrading to a new modern truck that it really is time for you.
Yeah, I agree.
I've been without a payment for so long that
I know.
Peace of mind, even knowing I'm not as efficient as I should be, the peace of mind knowing that if I have to, take 2 months off, well,
I know
I don't owe anybody anything. But I'm also 44, and I expect to be doing this for 30 more years or 20 more years or whatever.
If you had 4 years left, I'd say, throw some money into this truck and just keep it. There's too many advantages, and I get it. And now, if you told me, look, I like to take 2 months off every winter, then that'd be a different matter. But if you're going to be out there working full time anyway, I think it's time to upgrade.
Yeah. Okay, I've got one time John, this has been years ago, John came on and was talking about a 15 speed with 264s. And that's the only time I ever heard him talk about it. I actually had a couple of 15 speeds, and I liked them.
Yeah, there are a couple out there that had lower gears than the 13 speeds did, but then there are some 15 speeds that really didn't have those deep reductions. Typically, that was the reason somebody went to those 15 speeds, was for the deeper reduction that some of them had. Other than that, we don't talk about it much because they really didn't have any advantage to them. The heavy haulers liked them for some reason, but and now
they're great for starting a load.
Yeah, and that's why. But now going to the Volvo, you have even far better options than we ever had in any of those 15 speeds.
But in my case, if I did choose to rebuild this one, the 264 thing I don't think works for me because of that off-road in the sand start to load thing. But the 15 speed, I wonder if it would. I don't know. I guess I just have to.
It comes
compare.
down. You just have to pull up the ratios on each individual transmission model and find the one with the lowest that you can find. And that's really what it comes down to. And then you can actually calculate startability and gradability to see if it's going to work.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. One more thing on the TC engine. Is there any reason you can't put a PTO on that transmission and engine setup?
You absolutely can. There's no issues that way at all.
Is that an engine run PTO as opposed to off the bottom of the transmission?
I think you can do either or.
Okay, good. And you were talking. I figured availability would start getting better, but y'all are. It sounds like y'all are kind of leaning towards the other.
It might get worse. I think I just saw somebody post that they ordered a new Volvo. It's not going to be built till 2024.
Well, and that's the other thing. How long does a guy want to step out there and?
Yeah, definitely. Check with your dealers. Some dealers are having fleets, that have canceled and they've got openings. Others do not. So if you go to the first dealer and they said no, nothing until 2024, definitely start calling around because it's going to be different with every dealer you talk to.
And sometimes it's just
luck
of the draw.
Going to be more available?
You happen to catch a dealer on the same day that they just had a fleet cancel 10 build spots. So it's just sometimes pure luck.
Yeah.
You got to get out there, make those phone calls, and pound on doors. Used trucks, that market is still way tighter than I think it should be, and people are still selling trucks for way more money than I think they're worth.
Really expensive. I mean, they're still seeing 400,000 mile trucks for almost $100,000,
exactly.
If not more.
I know it was a little more custom and it had some cool stuff, but I just saw a 99 selling for $140,000.
Yeah. Ouch.
I know.
Ouch.
The prices on used trucks are still stupid, and I would have thought that would have changed by now. It actually started to come down a couple months ago, but then it kind of stopped. And so at some point, there's going to be a lot more availability of used trucks, and I think the price is going to come down. But it's kind of like a lot of things. I keep expecting some of these prices to ease up a little bit, and they're just not.
Yeah. All right. Well, that gives me some things to think about. Thank y'all. Joe, I'll reach out to you.
Do that. We'll have a chat about it. See what we can do for you.
Are you starting on your Alpha Drivers deal? Are you trying to get like a fee-based program set up to where you'll help us spec things?
I've been kicking this around for owner-operators and small fleets. Typically, I set my Alpha Drivers testing and consulting up to work with the OEMs and component suppliers. I do get these requests all the time. I mean, actually, I'm getting overrun by requests, people wanting help. So, at some point, I got to figure something out. There's no doubt. I just haven't had time to really focus on it. But, that'll be something that I do relatively relatively quickly, hopefully, and get this figured out how I want to do it.
There's definitely a need for that. If people like you would have been around, 20 or 30 years ago,
he
it made a big difference in people's retirement fund.
He's a little older than
Absolutely.
30. He was around 30 years ago.
There you go.
Yeah, but I didn't know him.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. There you go.
All right. Y'all have a good day.
All right. Thanks for the call. Joel, that's going to take care of the calls. I have two topics for Freaky Friday I'm just going to throw out. One of them health-related, one of them trucking-related. So you know how I was doing the thing about the whole testosterone levels in men and why men don't seem to be really men anymore, and we seem to have these the soy boys, and I've been talking about that for several years now, right?
Yep.
Have you seen Tucker Carlson's show, Tucker Carlson Originals?
I caught that walking through the living room, and I saw that when you're going to talk about the lowering
Isn't that
testosterone level or
interesting?
something.
Yeah.
I saw that. I thought of Kevin right off the bat. I said, "Hey, look, Kevin's been preaching this." So,
I know.
yeah, absolutely.
Tucker Carlson did a whole long format documentary on this. I haven't watched it yet. I think I'm going to watch it this weekend.
Yeah, if I'll see if I can find it too. I definitely want to watch that because it piqued my curiosity. When I heard that, I was like, okay, I got to watch this. So definitely.
Then the other thing I saw, and we'll see if this actually comes true, it's not far away. Tesla says they're going to ship their electric trucks in December. Pepsi's getting some.
Yeah, that's what I hear. It'll be interesting to see if all the hype is true, if it's any better than anybody else's. All the OEMs have really worked hard at it. I think Freightliner and Volvo are probably the two current OEMs that are way out in front of everybody. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how these things perform.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Then just because this is the kind of goofy stuff he does, he tweeted the other day about his Cybertruck. That thing is still, I guess it's going to happen. I still think the whole thing was a joke. Either it's not going to happen at all, or when he brings it out, it's not going to look anything like that goofy truck that they keep showing us.
It looked like something off Battlestar Galactica back in the day that they'd be driving around. It's like, okay.
They actually, I saw there was some Nintendo 64 game, I think, that had a truck that looked just like that in there. With how they did the computer generated graphics and they were all blocky looking, and they showed one that looked exactly like his Cybertruck, but he tweeted that it floats.
Okay.
So, which is kind of funny. I know, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But what's even worse is the government is like giving him a hard time about tweeting that.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez, oh,
I know. That's the.
Come on.
Exactly. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah. It either floats or it doesn't, but who cares? I mean, he tweeted it. So what?
That is funny. Now I definitely got to look into this thing. I'm going to do some digging.
Yeah, exactly.
I can find out.
Yeah.
I want a truck that floats, man.
Exactly. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else? Are we ready to wrap this up?
You know what? I've got a bunch of stuff I got to do today, so I'm ready to wrap. If you are, if we don't have anybody else on the line, let's call it a day.
Will do. All right. We're going to wrap this up. Everybody have a great weekend. We will see you back here on... Oh, hold on a second. Hey, Joel, if you need to run, you could run if you wanted. I just saw we have 2 calls. I wasn't paying attention.
Let's take them.
All right, we'll take them. Lisa's screening one right now. It looks like our buddy from Down Under. Can you call New Zealand Down Under?
All right.
I know we usually reserve that
Sure,
for Australia,
why not?
but they're close enough, right? I mean, they're both down under from where we are.
Absolutely.
All right, let's.
You won't get any argument from me.
There you go. Let's. Now I can grab it. Paul, what's on your mind today?
I'm still waiting for my picture of your lift axle, the drive.
Oh,
area.
yeah, that's exactly right. I forgot all about that.
That's
We'll
right.
get that for you.
I know you're busy.
Yep.
I know you're busy. So put it on your list.
Yep.
One other question I had. So something oddball like I do with the short rubber and ugly aerodynamics and all that other crap going on.
Mm-hmm.
How long would it take to spec out a truck for me, like the exact specs, if I did buy a Volvo? For you to work it out.
It won't take me any longer than what it normally does. I'll have a few more questions for you, but we could definitely do that.
Yeah, because the more I hear about it, the more I kind of like it. Because I'm thinking 7 miles to the gallon would be better than 5.6.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
Those are big gains financially too.
Yeah, I worked it out on paper, and that was at last week's fuel price. I didn't allow for the 70 cents.
70 cents. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going south on I-45, and I've just seen one of those blue Waymo trucks, the autonomous ones.
Yeah.
Which you see them going up and down here all the time. But I was talking to a guy the other day, and I said, if Joel and Kevin saw those trucks going up and down the road, they go, well, just look at that crap on the top. That's ruined the aerodynamics.
There's a lot of stuff up there. It's big too.
Yeah, and it sticks out ugly. It's like stick a billboard here with sitting on 2 5-gallon buckets.
It's all over the place. It sticks out the sides, up the top. It is just ugly.
See, I think what they're planning on, because it's autonomous and they can run it probably 24 hours nonstop, they're going to be able to lower the speed of the truck.
That's a good point. And aerodynamics won't matter as much. Right.
Right. Yep. That's what I would assume they've got in mind until they can package that stuff smaller and a little more aerodynamically. They're probably just going to slow the truck down, and that's how they're going to overcome that.
Yeah, well, I see them all the time going up and down I-45 here. And one day I thought, I was in a hurry, so I passed one of them, and I thought, I should be an a-hole. I'll pull in front of it and make it slow down.
Just mess with it. Yeah, just mess with it.
Yeah, but the driver's still sitting in the seat, but he'd be going, damn truck, slowing my head. Yeah. So I've got to get used to that when I'm in my Kia Stinger now, because I've never had a vehicle that has as many features as that thing. Well, I might be driving and I got the cruise set on 75, and then next thing you know, I'm only doing 68 because I got the guy in front of me. But I haven't got used to that yet. So, right, that's all I had.
All right, that's all we need. Awesome. Hey, Joel, one more story real quick. Because, he's looking at buying a Volvo truck. We're obviously talking a lot about Volvo. So way back when I did a tour with Volvo. Volvo was one of my first sponsors on my when I was doing seminars. And so I did a tour with them. It was actually when I met Mike Beckett. He did the tour as well. So Volvo had just come out with, was it the auto shifts? I think it may have been the auto shift transmissions they were trying to highlight. So they put together this tour. We had like 4 different Volvo truck models, and they took a moving trailer, the drop belly moving trailers, and they built a classroom in it, presentation stuff up front. It had like 12 really nice captain's chairs, to sit in the trailer and watch these presentations. And they hired me to be on the tour and just do business training, teach owner-operators how to make more money. They had Mike out there doing alignments out in the parking lot. And we hit was it? I don't think it was Flying J. It was one of the truck stop chains. I don't remember which one now. We hit almost every one of their locations around the country. It was several months.
Wow.
And originally they had wanted me to be on the whole tour. I'm like, I have a business to run. I can't just leave for a couple months. So I was actually flying in and out of each. Mike had stayed with them with the trucks quite a bit. But I remember,
Gotcha.
and I tried to tell them, guys, look, this is a really bad idea. I've done this before. It almost never works. You just can't get any interest. And they're like, well, we're right at the truck stop. They're right there. And I'm like, yeah, but they didn't know you were coming. It's not like they have a couple hours to kill looking at your trucks. I said, I just don't think you're going to get a lot of interest. And I'm doing seminars. So we were down near New Orleans. And I'm supposed to be doing a seminar. I have one person there. And that's it. All right, I'm going to do my seminar for one person. But I did, and we ended up talking for like 4 hours. The guy, turns out, he was a small fleet owner. He had 5 trucks, all 379 Pete's, all big cat power, 18 speeds. I mean, this was classic owner-operator specs, all getting, low 5 mile to the gallon numbers. And I said, look, without even trying, we could get your average up to 7.5 without even trying. And I said, let's go through the math on 5 trucks and what kind of money we're talking about in savings. He actually bought 5 trucks. He bought 5 new Volvos.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he did.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
yeah, where you think you don't have a hope in hell of making a sale,
yeah,
goes by. So that's cool.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna wrap this up. Let you get on with your day. Thanks as always, and we're gonna have to beat up John if he's not here next week. I think
That's
we're gonna
what
fire
I'm gonna
him.
say.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll have to have a stern talking with
That's
him.
right. That's right. All right, Joel. Have a great weekend.
Awesome.
We'll talk to you next week.
You too, Kevin.
All right. Be safe.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Be profitable.
Bye.
Be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.